The of Joshua begins in the long shadows of another man's greatness, because no mind arrives fully formed, and Joshua's does not begin with confidence, authority, or stature. It begins instead with awareness, the awareness of standing behind a giant, the awareness of being young in a world shaped by the weight of Moses' presence, the awareness of witnessing miracles he did not cause, and responsibilities he did not choose, and the awareness of being called into a story larger than his own desires, larger than his years, larger than his quiet personality. Joshua's psychology, at its root, is the story of a mind being expanded by responsibility until responsibility becomes his identity. Joshua grows into himself through proximity, being near greatness, near revelation, near leadership forces, accelerated internal development. Moses is not simply a leader to him. Moses is an environment. To follow him is to live in a constant field of pressure and expectation. A young mind absorbs this, rehearses this, internalizes this. It shapes Joshua's cognitive processes. He learns early that crises are not interruptions, but the landscape of purpose. The human brain adapts to whatever it believes is normal, and Joshua's normal is the extraordinary. This is why he grows into courage, not as a performance, but as a neurological pattern. His formative years train his attention to seek solutions instead of safety, outcomes instead of excuses, clarity instead of comfort. Courage becomes a cognitive habit long before it becomes a public trait. Joshua's psychology also holds a deep orientation toward obedience, but his obedience is not the passive kind born from fear. It is the active kind born from witness. He has seen too much to doubt. He has experienced too much to negotiate. When a mind repeatedly encounters moments where the impossible becomes visible and the invisible becomes real, skepticism loses its meaning. His obedience is built on memory, and memory is the most powerful architect of psychological certainty. Where others speculate about the unseen, Joshua remembers it. Where others argue, Joshua recalls. His recollections form a stable internal world, and from that world emerges a personality that does not question instructions, but aligns itself with them. Yet this obedience comes with an internal tension. Joshua's mind is constantly balancing submission with initiative. He has to remain under leadership while preparing to become leadership. This creates an internal duality: humility and readiness, silence and awareness, patience and anticipation. Psychologically, this duality matures him. It teaches him self-restraint, the ability to hold responsibility without seeking it prematurely. This is why he is steady, because steadiness is learned by standing still until movement truly matters. It shapes him into a man whose impulses are trained, whose emotions are calibrated, whose actions are intentional. The discipline of waiting becomes the foundation for decisive action. Joshua's relationship with fear is also unusual. He feels fear, but his fear is directional, not paralyzing. He does not fear danger so much as disappointing purpose. This inversion creates a powerful psychological engine. He is more afraid of failing his calling than of any physical threat he encounters. His fear is tied to meaning, not mortality, and meaning is stronger than instinct. This makes his courage stable, not explosive, steady, not reckless. It is the courage of someone whose internal world is anchored. It is the courage of someone whose identity is aligned with destiny rather than survival. When Joshua spies the land as a young man, his psychological distinctiveness becomes visible. While others see threats, he sees opportunities. While others interpret reality through trauma, he interprets it through promise. This reveals another layer of his mind. Joshua possesses what psychologists call future memory. His imagination is not an escape. It is a continuation of what he believes is already unfolding. His mind projects promise onto possibility, and this projection forms his emotional resilience. His optimism is not naive. It is cognition tied to identity. This is why he does not collapse under pressure. His mind has rehearsed victory before it happens, rehearsed belonging before arrival, rehearsed inheritance before possession. He does not merely believe the promise, he psychologically inhabits it. His years in the wilderness as a developing leader shape his emotional tone. Joshua becomes emotionally economical. He does not waste feeling on resentment, complaint, or comparison. His mind learns early that emotional leakage is expensive, especially when one's environment demands endurance. This produces a personality that is surprisingly quiet. Joshua is not loud, not flamboyant, not dramatic. He channels his emotions inwardly, refining them into clarity. This calmness strengthens his leadership style. A calm mind becomes a safe presence for others, and Joshua's presence stabilizes the unstable. His emotional restraint creates psychological space for others to breathe. Joshua's identity evolves significantly after Moses' death. The passing of a mentor triggers a psychological rebirth. When the one who has always walked ahead suddenly disappears, one's mind reorganizes itself around new responsibilities. Joshua must build confidence in real time. He cannot inherit Moses' personality. He must grow into his own authority. This is the moment where self-doubt appears. Even strong minds experience tremors when their context shifts. Joshua feels the weight of inadequacy, but his inadequacy becomes fuel, not paralysis. Because his mind has learned obedience for so long, it now transforms obedience into boldness. His internal dialogue becomes simpler. Not "am I able," but "I was chosen." And chosenness, when internalized, stabilizes the psyche. Psychologically, Joshua leads not through charisma, but through structure. He is a builder of order. Instructions stabilize his cognition. When given directives, he becomes confident because action anchors uncertainty. The mind loves clarity, and Joshua thrives when clarity is given. This is why his leadership feels sharp, strategic, measured. He translates divine instruction into military execution, turning revelation into movement. His brain is wired for implementation. This is what makes him such an effective commander. His thought processes are sequential, disciplined, and outcome-oriented. There is little abstraction in his leadership. Everything becomes steps, procedures, formation, timing. His mind is tactical by design. Joshua's military psychology is grounded in both courage and calculation. Courage gives him readiness. Calculation gives him precision. Courage acts quickly. Calculation acts wisely. Together, they create a leader who is as intuitive as he is methodical. Joshua senses when to move, but he also understands why to move. He balances instinct and analysis, merging them into strategies that feel almost effortless. This balance reduces cognitive dissonance. His decisions are not hasty but confident, not impulsive but informed. His brain integrates emotion, faith, and logic into a unified direction. Another significant part of Joshua's psychology is his relationship with the past. He does not erase it, he interprets it. He carries the memory of slavery, but not the mentality of it. He carries the memory of wandering, but not the despair of it. He carries the legacy of Moses, but not the shadow of him. Joshua's mind reframes history into fuel. His psychological strength lies in refusing to internalize weakness. He is aware of where he came from, but he does not allow it to define his self-concept. This is why he leads a generation that rises instead of collapses. His psychology is future-facing, even when holding memory. Joshua also possesses a relational psychology that is deeply rooted in loyalty. He forms strong bonds with those he trusts, but he does not spread himself thin. Loyalty shapes his judgment. When Joshua commits, he commits fully. This trait protects him from the fragmentation that affects many leaders. He does not divide his allegiance between multiple identities or desires. His relational loyalty becomes psychological coherence. Others become confused or conflicted. Joshua becomes aligned. And alignment is the foundation of inner strength. But Joshua's psychology is not without pressure. Victory brings its own cognitive strain. Responsibility multiplies emotional demands. Every decision affects thousands of lives, and this awareness shapes his inner world. Joshua must constantly self-regulate. He cannot afford panic, cannot afford hesitation, cannot afford emotional leakage. His leadership requires him to embody certainty, even when he feels doubt. This duality creates internal stretching. A leader who must be both human and symbol. But Joshua manages this by grounding himself in instruction. When human emotion wavers, divine direction stabilizes him. Joshua's encounters with the unknown, such as meeting the warrior who identifies as commander of the heavenly host, reveal yet another layer of his mind. He is psychologically open. He does not cling to rigid categories. When confronted with mystery, Joshua does not resist. He adjusts. His cognitive flexibility allows him to reinterpret reality without collapsing. This openness is a mark of mature leadership. It makes him capable of navigating situations that defy human logic. As he grows older, Joshua's psychology becomes more reflective. Leadership matures into wisdom. The urgency of youth evolves into the steadiness of age. Joshua becomes less driven by proving himself and more driven by preserving purpose. His internal motives shift from conquest to guidance. He wants the people not only to enter the land, but to remain aligned with the principles that made the promise possible. He understands that leadership is temporary, but impact is generational. This expands his internal world. His reflections deepen. His identity becomes more anchored in legacy than achievement. The final stage of Joshua's psychology is marked by clarity. Some minds become confused with age. Joshua's become sharper. He sees patterns more clearly. He understands human tendencies with greater precision. He recognizes the fragility of commitment and the ease with which people drift. These insights create a deep, quiet sadness in him. Not despair, but the sadness of someone who understands the weight of human inconsistency. Yet this sadness does not weaken him. It strengthens his determination. His final speeches reveal a man whose mind has integrated experience into conviction. He speaks with the authority of someone who has lived the very truths he urges others to honor. In the end, Joshua's psychology can be summarized as the journey of a mind that grows into its calling, then becomes one with it. He begins as a follower, becomes a warrior, rises as a leader, matures into a guide, and ends as a witness. His mind evolves from obedience to authority, from anticipation to experience, from fear to purpose. Every stage of his life reinforces a single internal truth. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the alignment of identity with destiny. Joshua becomes courageous because he becomes aligned. He becomes strong because he becomes steady. He becomes a leader because he becomes whole. Joshua's internal world is therefore defined by clarity, courage, loyalty, structure, obedience, reflection, and unshakable purpose. These traits merge into a psychology that is both human and extraordinary. The psychology of a man who carried a nation from wandering to arrival, from promise to possession, from hesitation to inheritance.